Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We're going to continue with the agenda with Supervisor Richard Forster. What do we have, Richard?
Okay, Tom, as I said, this Senate Bill 854 was signed into law of June of 2014. It pertains to all, and previously it was not all, but this one pertains to all contracts that are let out or bid out to entities from the county of Amador and from all public entities. Previously, it was confined more to things like just the propositions and the bonds that were passed by voters, but now it's encompassing anyone who bids on a job and receives a job from a public entity for a public works project. This is basically coming from the Department of Industrial Relations, their labor compliance programs, and compliance monitoring unit. What they've said is the compliance monitoring unit was not doing the job before effectively to make sure that everyone who bid on projects and was accepted is bonded or has the proper insurance requirements. This one looks to me like one that's straight out of the labor book on lobbying, and this is one that labor wanted in place because they want to make sure that
everybody jumped through the hoops?
That everybody jumps through the hoops, but that everybody lives by the labor requirements, and that they're all bonded, that they all have the proper insurance. Well, all that's important, but what it's going to do, for instance, in our county is it'll take contractors will be required, if they're bidding on a public works project, for the county to pay a $300 fee up front. That's going to pay for all of the enforcement activities and the penalty processes that are going to take place.
So they have to pay for the requirement that they have to go through.
Right.
The people that watch that.
They'll also have to pay the fee and pay another fee online and must meet minimum qualifications to be registered as eligible, bid, and work on public works projects, eligible to bid. So they'll have to do that application process. They'll have to make sure they have the workers' compensation coverage. They must have a contractor state license board. Some of these things should be required.
Sure.
Some of this goes beyond probably what it should require. They must not have any delinquent, unpaid wage or penalty assessments owed, must not be under federal or state debarment, and must not be in prior violation of the registration requirements once it becomes effective. A lot of these laws were already on the book, but what it did, it encompasses now all public works projects. So, and it not only includes the contractor, it includes their subs. So
is it anything that the government, any job that an entity would do for the county?
Any project, yes.
Any project,
so
okay.
Let's, for instance, an easy one for me to bring up is Jackson Valley Irrigation District. They're going through the potable water project right now. They're using some proceeds from bond funds. They're using some money from USDA. All of those would be under these standards where you would have to pay the fees, be vetted out. You must be pre-qualified, essentially. There are penalties assessed to the contractor if they are not living by these rules. There are penalties assessed to the governmental agency that hires them if they're not making sure that this process is being followed.
So is it this regulation, is this costly for a small outfit to go through?
Some of them, the small ones had to do it some had to do it anyway. Most of the small ones could get away sometimes under thresholds not having to do this. Now they're making it so that everyone will have to do it. So little operators like we have in the county that have been operating successfully will have to go through this process now and make sure all their T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Otherwise, they're going to end up in trouble. And they will, because there is a specific reporting process that must be done by the public agency to the state to make sure, the state wants to make sure that everyone is living by the requirements of this Senate bill that was passed, Senate Bill 854. So any contractors, especially contractors that are doing work with the county, for instance, Logan just did some contract work with the county, and he'll have to make sure that he lives under these requirements, that he goes to the website, pays the fee, does all of what he's required to do.
Okay.
Next up, it'll be the Amateur
Someplace
Council.
this might be where $1 trillion of the U.S. economy is tied up into regulating.
That's right. Next up, Maureen Funk will be in from the Amateur Council on Tourism. She's going to give a report on the 2014 State Fair, and I would imagine, again, ask for support from the Board of Supervisors on this. Last year, they had $5,000 in sponsorships from the county, and sponsors added another $6,078.62.
That's good.
For over $11,000. And, you know, a lot of these sponsorships came in the $250 range. I mean, the county did $5,000. Bank of Amador, American River Bank did $2,000. Beyond that, each supervisor did $250. Most of the donations here are from all the partners in the community. The associations in Jackson, Sutter Creek, Ione all gave $250. I believe Plymouth did too. I don't want to leave anybody out there,
right.
but there's also quite a few $50 donations. So that's what it takes to make our fair booth work. We did win a gold ribbon last year, and I think we won the ribbon for best education in a fair booth. This building where the fair booths are located is the most visited building at the fair. The attendance went up 8% last year, so it's good for the county.
Right, and this is a reach out for tourism to come back into the county.
That's exactly right.
And,
so
inform people that what a swell place this is.
That's right. So it's a good use of our money, I believe, to inform people about Amador County and get them up here. And next up, we have a gentleman, Mr. John Alexander, in from the MACT Health Board. This is the Mariposa, Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne Health Board. And to tell you the truth, I had to go to the web and figure out what MACT Health Board did. He wants to talk to us about their strategic plans and goals, as well as challenges of being one of the few providers of Medi-Cal for patients in Amador County. But the mission of this board is to improve the health status of the American Indian/Alaskan Native population to the highest level through provisions of public health, primary and prevention services, and they provide family prevention, family practice, internal medicine, pediatrics, dental, podiatry, and they operate, as I said, in 4 counties. They also serve members of the general public, albeit I bet not too many. And services are conducted in an atmosphere that respects and supports Native American traditions, values, and beliefs. So there you have it. Now you understand it as good as I understand it. Until tomorrow, where we talk about this at our board meeting, the members of their board are one from Calaveras Band of Miwok Indians, one from Jackson Band of Miwok Indians, one from the Sierra Native American Council, and one from the American Indian Council of Mariposa. So,
I believe I might have talked to a Dr. Watson from this outfit on one of the newscasts one time.
okay.
Seemed they did some good work.
Well, this is important. I mean, you have a population of people that for years and years has been neglected in healthcare, and this started in 1969. I would imagine they only capture a portion of the population, but many years ago, I would imagine there were some people that, especially in the Native American population, that did not want to go and get health care for a variety of reasons. So I don't want to speak too much for them, but
Right.
that's the way it is. Lastly up, besides our minutes, we have the King Fire Restoration Project. John Hoffman, our consultant on natural resource issues, requested this be on the agenda, but specifically it talks about their restoration efforts in the King Fire, and as he says, his understanding is the revenues that would go towards this would be shared with Amador County through the 25% fund. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow, but in his letter, John makes some very good observations and recommendations. One, they're going to leave most of the timber on the ground there. That makes no sense. It's a way for the U.S. Forest Service to try and avoid a lawsuit, basically. They negotiate these settlements with
Who was suing them?
Well, some of the environmental firms. For instance, in the Power Fire, the John Muir Society was the one that sued and made it so that most of that, I think over 40% of the timber had to lay on the ground and just rot.
Do they have a reason to, in other words, do they feel the timber is doing good on the floor, or is it they just didn't want to benefit economically from the trees from the fire? Do you have any idea?
Some of these environmental groups don't like any mechanized operations going on at all within the forest. They think it should just be left natural. If it burns, okay, leave it natural. But the problem is restoration efforts are very risky because you have all of that dead timber there. The snags are there.
20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, you have the snags there, so it's risky to go into that area. You can't really put cattle on to graze those areas after they come back because of the snags. There's just a number of issues that we're requesting that they consider.
All right. Well, thank you, and there you heard it. That's going to be, all those topics are going to be discussed at the Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow. If you're interested, go there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.